What's up guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of my build in this big old pumpkin. Every month I do a PC build and then I follow up and test it, and for October you guys wanted me to build a computer and a pumpkin. I went and looked to see if it had been done before. Kyle actually already did a pumpkin PC build 2 years ago. He did a good job, but my goal was to do a little bit better than him, go a little bit beyond, and of course follow up with some testing and actually gaming on a jack-o'-lantern PC.
Excellent!
Deepcool knows that there's more than one way to cool a CPU, so for air cooling fans, they made the Assassin 3, a 280-watt TDP tower cooler that stays chilly and silent with 7 heat pipes, dual 140mm fans, and a polished nickel finish. Or if you prefer water cooling, the Castle 360EX is a 360mm all-in-one with tasteful RGB lighting, exclusive anti-leak technology, and a copper base custom designed for maximum cooling performance. To find out more about Deepcool's Assassin 3 or the Castle 360EX, click the sponsor links in the description.
So if you missed part 1, I highly recommend checking it out. I had to hunt this pumpkin down, and it took a little bit of an extra effort because apparently large pumpkins like Big Macs like this one are in high demand here in Southern California right around Halloween. But we wanted to make sure it was a pumpkin that was large enough to fit a substantial gaming system inside. And when I actually put this together in part 1, got it all fired up, and sent some pictures out online, the #1 request I had that needed to be added to the pumpkin was more RGB, because we have the PC Master Race head logo, whatever that's called right there, and RGB is obviously goes hand in hand with PC Master Race. So to that end, I've been working on outfitting the inside of the pumpkin a little bit more. I did a little bit more carving around here to make sure everything was a little bit cleaner, and internally I've sort of been securing the plastic wrap we put in there with a method that Kyle actually developed in his video, which was using little toothpicks. We cut them in half and then just put them in crosswise to sort of hold the plastic down in strategic places so it wouldn't be shifting around as we move stuff in and out. So to that end, we have some RGB LED strips. These are just from Cable Mod, and these with an adapter can work with the 3-pin 5-volt RGB header that's part of the motherboard. Also wanted to enhance the case a little bit more, so in part 1 installed an actual power button up here, and I'm really happy with that because it means that once this is wired up to the motherboard and the system is inside, we can actually turn it on and off. And then due to the motherboard's orientation inside the pumpkin, the I/O is actually going to be facing the front, just to give sort of a view of the internal parts if you're trying to look through the carving there. To that end as well, I've added a couple extensions here. This is actually the USB 3.0 front panel header thing that I got, which I decided not to install directly to the hull of the pumpkin here, but I have added just as an extension so I can sort of route these out the back to plug in a keyboard and mouse. Also have extensions here for the RGB, so we can plug that in once it's actually installed into the pumpkin. And then I got an extension here just for a fan because I decided we wanted some active airflow in the system. Initial build just had the heatsink fan on the Ryzen 5 2600 here, as well as the fans on the graphics card. I wanted something more active to pull some cool air in, so on our rear panel here I custom cut out a little 120mm fan mount. That is actually a Gentle Typhoon fan. I opted to go non-RGB here because it's not going to be very visible and I didn't want to worry about wiring up extra wires, but just use toothpicks to kind of hold that in place, cut a square out in the back so we could set it there, and then cut a circle on the other side so it can pull some fresh air in. So rounding things out, we're going to wire up the RGB LEDs, get the system back installed, and then we're going to play some video games. Also though, we have snacks, because last night I took as many of the pumpkin seeds as I could out of the pumpkin mush that was taken from inside the pumpkin, washed them, dried them a little bit, and then we've roasted them for about 45 minutes at 300 degrees so we can have some pumpkin seeds to eat today too. If you've never tried roasted pumpkin seeds, I highly recommend it, especially if you're carving a pumpkin this Halloween. Great way to make a little bit more use out of the pumpkin, and honestly it's like if you like sunflower seeds, it's just like a bunch of big sunflower seeds. Really good. So we've made our upgrades, added some airflow, added some RGB LEDs, and now the moment of truth once again. I just really like that there's a power button on this pumpkin. And look at that, look at that. The default color that we noted when we were testing these RGB LEDs is orange right now from the Aorus motherboard that we're using, which is why it's orange inside. It's lighting up a bit better now though, I would say. We can't potentially control those RGB LEDs with the software from the operating system, but for now I actually think this is very appropriate for Halloween. plastic in there. Time for some testing now, and the first thing we're doing is a system stability test with IDA64. Stresses the CPU, FPU cache, system memory, and here we are running a little on the warm side, between 83 and 85 degrees Celsius on average. Right now we're at about 84.8, which is not the best. With a full system and a full complement of fans in a configuration similar to this, I was setting more like 76, 77 with a 2600 and the stock cooler. That said, we are just using the Ray Stealth in here, which is pretty low profile, and there are definitely better coolers out there, and we've got some vertical space here in the Pumpkin still. So if you're considering the viability of a Pumpkin as a computer case long term, obviously there's some things you need to take into consideration, but I would recommend cutting some extra spaces for additional fans. And just in case you're wondering, we're running the stress test for just about 14 minutes now, actually. Did you hear that? What was it? Ah! That was unexpected, but a bit of a bonus, I guess. Oh, goodbye. Time to dive into some actual gaming, and even though I haven't really played it much, and you know, there's plenty of pros and cons to it, Fortnite Season 2. Episode 2, Chapter 2, whatever, just launched, so I'm gonna jump in and try this out. Just so you guys know, up in the top left corner as I'm playing the games, there's some stats, so you can see the CPU temperature and frequency, GPU temperature, frequency, and load, as well as the current frame rate that we're getting. We're playing the games at 1920 by 1080, and we are on a 240 Hz refresh rate AOC monitor, which is nice, but since the graphics card we're playing with isn't necessarily top of the line or anything like that, we might be getting frame rates below that. Frame rate we're getting is around 90 FPS, pretty consistent here, so that's not too bad. Video settings on the game are set to epic. We are dipping down to 80 here and there. GPU temperature is currently at 76 degrees, which isn't too shabby. The CPU, you can see, is running a lot cooler. We're down at 53.3 degrees Celsius since we're no longer in a stress test. And oh no, I'm being shot at. Come back. Okay, I died. Well, that was fun playing Fortnite. Next up, Joe's firing up some Apex Legends. Playing Apex on a pumpkin while eating pumpkin seeds. This is unprecedented.
Pumpkin pie, don't forget that.
There's an interesting zombie survival mode that Apex has going on right now since it is October, and if you die, you respawn as a shadow, and then you have to go and kill the people who are still alive. That's kind of fun. Frame rate wise though, Joe's getting about 60 to 70 FPS when he was initially dropping in, and then once he was down on the ground, it was getting to more like 80 to 100. One thing I noticed though is once he died and switched over to shadow form, it's doing this semi-transparent overlay on screen, which is actually dropping the frame rate by about 10 FPS. So he got about 50 to 60 FPS in the drop in, and now he's getting about 70 to 90 when he's running around on the ground. We got one more game to test here, guys. That is Borderlands 3, and I'm playing this because I really like Borderlands 2, and I haven't played Borderlands 3 yet, and I really want to. Here's a quick look at our settings. We are playing at 1080 once again. I have got the FPS limit set to 300. We're gonna stick with DX11, and overall quality settings are set to medium. And since I have not even played this yet, I get to play it for the first time. All right, we've gotten through the... Gosh, Claptrap really just doesn't shut up, does he? All right, our initial experience here in Borderlands is a frame rate between 90 and 100, 110, maybe 115 in max. Claptrap, shut your frickin' mouth. He doesn't stop talking. Borderlands. So much fun, so distinctive in its visual style, and they also have a nice sense of humor playing through this game. There's Claptrap. All right, guys, I've had the opportunity to play a few games. Borderlands 3, I need to continue playing. I can already tell it's going to be a bunch of fun, and I want to keep doing that. But building a computer in a pumpkin, though, can it be done? Yes, that's been proven here definitively today, and you can even use it and game on it for a little while. Of course, practically speaking, long term, I give this 2-3 days tops before it starts to collapse in different areas, maybe starts to rot. Who knows? Probably isn't even gonna make it to Halloween, to be perfectly honest, but I'm hoping it will last at least until the live show, which is probably in the past by the time you watch this video. But all that said, some closing thoughts. RGB LEDs inside were definitely a big pop. They added a lot more just visual to being able to see through the logo and everything. Unfortunately, the Gigabyte RGB Fusion software, it's Fusion 2.0 now, leaves a lot to be desired. I was able to do pink, and I was able to do sort of a cycling through different colors, but I wasn't able to do anything with the addressable RGB LEDs in here to make like a pattern that cycles through or something like that. So if you're looking into RGB LEDs, I would consider something like what Corsair or NZXT or Thermaltake offer, because you can plug those in separately, use a USB header on the board, and then use software in the operating system to control it. I just wanted to say thank you guys for watching this video though. We had a lot of fun just getting this together conceptually, finding the pumpkin, figuring out what to carve in here. I'm really happy with how the carving turned out as well. So shout out to the PC Master Race subreddit and Pedro. We got a lot of positive feedback there when I went and posted a picture of it. And yes, we heard your requests for more RGB, and we definitely had to add that for this closing video. But guys, thank you so much for watching this. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section down below your concepts for other random pieces of food, vegetable, plant, or elsewise to build a computer in. Maybe I'll consider doing that in the future. For now, happy Halloween. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and we'll see you next time.